New footage of DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy's wife is making waves online, and fans can't believe what they're seeing. Was it just an innocent moment, or is there something deeper going on behind the scenes? And once the footage went viral, Lawrence threw shade at his former team.
I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there.
Now people are connecting the dots, and Lawrence's own words are only fueling the fire. So what really happened? Let's break down the viral footage and the story the Cowboys don't want getting out. The nuclear explosion. Lawrence's devastating Cowboys takedown. What DeMarcus Lawrence said in that Hawk Blogger interview wasn't just controversial, it was nuclear. In the unforgiving world of professional sports, where loyalty is supposedly sacred and public criticism is taboo, Lawrence dropped a bombshell that reverberated through every corner of the NFL universe.
I mean, the main difference, as you can see, is it's cold.
It's cold. People don't feel that, but it's cold.
Yeah, got to keep my jacket on up.
But it was what came next that truly ignited the firestorm. After discussing the change in scenery and expressing his love for Dallas as his home, Lawrence delivered the knockout punch that no one saw coming.
Definitely love the atmosphere, change the scenery is always good, but, Dallas is my home. I made my home there, my family lives there, I'm forever going to be there, but, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there.
Those words, "I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there," weren't just a casual observation. They were a calculated surgical strike aimed at the heart of an organization that had failed him. This quote immediately went viral across social media platforms, turning what should have been a routine free agency signing into a media sensation. To understand the magnitude of this statement, you have to appreciate the context. The Dallas Cowboys haven't just been unsuccessful. They've been historically embarrassingly unsuccessful when it comes to championship football. They haven't reached a divisional round since 1995, a drought that spans nearly 3 decades and encompasses the entirety of Lawrence's NFL career. This wasn't just one player's opinion. It was a damning indictment backed by 30 years of playoff failures. He praised his new team and revealed his ambition for the next few years, saying,
"It's a great organization here in Seattle. They have a good team, and shoot, I get to play football for 3 more years, so."
Lawrence even revealed one of the main reasons behind his shocking move.
Ad Dirty obviously coached you in Dallas. If he wasn't here, do you think you'd be here?
In all honesty, most likely not. Just because I know his style, his system, what he's expecting from me, and I know he can help me get back to the D-Law everybody knows.
Lawrence's decision to join Seattle wasn't just about money or opportunity. It was about reuniting with someone who actually understood how to win. Aden Durde, now Seattle's defensive coordinator, had previously coached Lawrence in Dallas, and their relationship represented everything that was right about coaching relationships. This wasn't just a business decision. It was a desperate man's attempt to salvage what remained of his championship dreams. But the most devastating aspect of Lawrence's comments wasn't just what he said about Dallas. It was the timing and the platform. The Hawk Blogger interview was conducted just one day after his introductory press conference with the Seahawks, meaning this wasn't some emotional outburst in the heat of the moment. This was calculated, deliberate, and designed for maximum impact. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Within hours, Lawrence's comments were trending across social media platforms, with sports analysts and commentators dissecting every word. The statement wasn't just criticism, it was a public execution of the Cowboys' championship aspirations, delivered by someone who had bled silver and blue for over a decade. What made Lawrence's comments even more devastating was their undeniable truth. The Cowboys' 2024 defense ranked 28th in the league, allowing 355.2 yards per game, a statistic that perfectly encapsulated the organization's systemic failures. This wasn't just one disgruntled player talking. This was a decorated veteran stating what everyone already knew, but was too polite to say.
Oh man, like I said earlier, we have an amazing group here already, and just for me to, come in and be a part of it, it's truly a blessing. Those guys are, having themselves a great career. And, just being able to line up with some of the guys like Jaden Reed, Leonard Williams.
The contrast Lawrence drew between Seattle and Dallas was stark and intentional. In Seattle, he saw players having great careers and the opportunity to have fun. The implication was clear. In Dallas, careers stagnated and joy was in short supply. This wasn't just about football. It was about organizational culture, leadership, and the fundamental question of whether the Cowboys were serious about winning championships or content with being a profitable entertainment brand. But Lawrence wasn't finished. The interview revealed deeper insights into why he left Dallas beyond just the championship prospect. prospects. His comments about reuniting with Aden Dirty suggested that the Cowboys had lost not just a player, but potentially a coach who understood how to maximize talent. The brain drain from Dallas wasn't just about players, it was about the entire infrastructure of winning. The interview also featured some hard-hitting personal questions.
Well, most people just want to hear about football, but it's also the human side. A meaningful injury.
Right.
You're gonna be out for a while. You got 5 kids at home.
Right.
You're in your 11th year. Was there a moment where you're kind of like, well, is this really do I really want to keep doing this, or is it time to turn the chapter?
His response showed the fans his human side, saying,
Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments. Had to sit down with the wife and talk about it. But just understanding who you are as a person, that goes a long way. Understanding me, I still have a lot left in the tank. I definitely ain't want to just kick the bucket too soon.
This incredibly personal revelation added another layer to the story. Lawrence hadn't just left Dallas for professional reasons. He'd made a deeply personal decision about how he wanted to spend the twilight of his career. The fact that he was playing through injuries and contemplating retirement only to find new life in Seattle made his comments about Dallas even more damning. The viral nature of Lawrence's comments wasn't accidental. In an era where athlete interviews are carefully scripted and sanitized, here was raw, unfiltered truth from someone who had nothing left to lose. The interview quickly garnered significant attention on sports news platforms, with analysts praising Lawrence's honesty while Cowboys fans felt betrayed by someone they had considered family. But the most explosive reaction was yet to come. Lawrence's comments didn't just anger Cowboys management or disappoint fans. They ignited a civil war within the team itself. Someone who had been Lawrence's teammate, someone who should have understood the frustrations and disappointments, was about to respond in a way that would escalate this from a simple departure to an all-out feud. Micah Parsons, the Cowboys' current star and supposed leader, wasn't going to let Lawrence's comments go unanswered. What followed was a social media battle that exposed the deep fractures within the Cowboys organization and revealed just how toxic the environment had become in Dallas. The civil war erupts when teammates become enemies. If DeMarcus Lawrence's initial comments were a nuclear strike against the Dallas Cowboys, then what happened next was nothing short of mutually assured destruction. The response came not from team management, not from ownership, but from within the locker room itself, proving that Lawrence's critique had hit closer to home than anyone could have imagined. The counterattack came from Micah Parsons, the Cowboys' current defensive superstar and supposed cornerstone of their future. Parsons took to social media with a response that shocked even the most cynical NFL observers, calling Lawrence's comments clown and suggesting that Lawrence's criticism was driven by rejection and envy. This is what rejection and envy look like. This some clown, he tweeted. But Lawrence wasn't about to back down from a fight, especially not from someone he clearly viewed as part of the problem. His response was swift, surgical, and devastating. Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. This wasn't just a social media spat. This was a public autopsy of everything wrong with the Dallas Cowboys, performed by 2 of their most prominent defensive players for the entire world to see. The feud quickly became national news, with sports analysts across the country weighing in on what this meant for the Cowboys' future. To understand the magnitude of this conflict, you need to appreciate the context of their relationship. Lawrence and Parsons had shared the field for 4 seasons, theoretically working together toward the same goal. But beneath the surface, tensions had been brewing for years. Reports suggest that veteran players like Lawrence had grown resentful of Parsons' rapid rise and different approach to leadership. The timing of this eruption was particularly devastating for the Cowboys. Here was their former defensive leader publicly questioning their ability to win championships, while their current defensive star was engaging in Twitter wars instead of focusing on the upcoming season. The optics couldn't have been worse for an organization already struggling with questions about leadership and culture. Lawrence's response to Parsons revealed something even more damaging than his initial comments about Super Bowl prospects. By suggesting that Parsons spent too much time on social media and not enough time winning, Lawrence was effectively calling out the current team's priorities and work ethic. This wasn't just about past failures, it was about the systemic issues that would prevent future success. The feud exposed what many had suspected, but few had been willing to say publicly. The Dallas Cowboys locker room was fractured, dysfunctional, and filled with players more interested in personal brands than team success. Bobby Belt of 105.3 The Fan revealed that Lawrence and Parsons didn't get along for some time, suggesting this public battle was just the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. What made Parsons' response particularly tone-deaf was the context of his own season. In 2024, 2024, Parsons had publicly complained about his contract situation, despite playing for just $3 million, while being arguably the best defensive player in the league. For someone in his position to question Lawrence's motives seemed, at best, hypocritical. The deeper analysis revealed something even more troubling for Cowboys fans. Lawrence's criticism of Parsons wasn't just about social media usage, it was about leadership philosophy. In Lawrence's view, Parsons represented everything wrong with the modern Cowboys: more style than substance, more interested in personal accolades than team success, and fundamentally misunderstanding what it takes to win at the highest level. Parsons eventually attempted to defend himself in interviews, calling Lawrence's criticism ridiculous and insisting that anyone who watched the tape would see his commitment. But the damage was done. The public nature of the feud had exposed the Cowboys' internal dysfunction in a way that no amount of spin could repair. The conversation on Pro Football Talk perfectly captured the complexity of the situation. Sports analysts noted that this wasn't just about two players disagreeing, it was about the manifestation of deeper issues within the Cowboys organization. Players questioning Parsons' priorities, veterans feeling disconnected from the team's direction, and a general sense that the Cowboys were more interested in entertainment than excellence. What emerged from this civil war was a clear picture of an organization in crisis. Lawrence's departure wasn't just about seeking better championship opportunities. It was an escape from a toxic environment where veteran leadership was undervalued and social media presence was prioritized over football fundamentals. The feud also highlighted the generational divide within the NFL. Lawrence represented the old school approach: quiet professionalism, team-first mentality, and dedication to craft. Parsons embodied the new era: social media savvy, brand conscious, and comfortable with public attention. The clash between these philosophies played out in real time, with devastating consequences for team chemistry. By April 2025, Parsons attempted to frame the feud as part of a broader cultural shift under new head coach Brian Schottenheimer, stating that the team wouldn't tolerate dumb stuff moving forward. But the irony wasn't lost on observers that Parsons himself had contributed significantly to the dumb stuff by engaging in a public Twitter war with a former teammate. The lasting impact of this feud extends far beyond the individuals involved. For Cowboys fans, it confirmed their worst fears about the organization's direction. For NFL observers, it provided a fascinating case study in how modern social media can amplify internal conflicts. And for the players themselves, it served as a stark reminder that in today's hyper-connected world, private grievances can quickly become public relations disasters. So what about Lawrence and his former coach's wife? Well, it seems taking shots at his former team wasn't enough because he went a step further: the search for the mysterious footage. When the internet exploded with whispers about DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy's wife in some kind of viral footage, the sports world held its collective breath. What could possibly have transpired between the former Dallas Cowboys defensive end and Jessica McCarthy that would send shockwaves through social media? To understand the magnitude of what transpired, we need to appreciate who DeMarcus Lawrence is in the pantheon of Cowboys legends. This is a man who spent 11 grueling seasons in Dallas, accumulating an impressive 285 solo tackles, 165 assists, and a staggering 61.5 sacks. He wasn't just another player, he was the heart and soul of the Cowboys defense, a four-time Pro Bowl selection who had given everything to the star on his helmet. But Lawrence's journey to this moment of viral infamy wasn't a straight line. In 2024, he suffered a devastating Lisfranc foot injury that limited him to just 4 games, raising questions about whether his career was over. At 33 years old, with a body battered by over a decade of NFL warfare, many wondered if Tank Lawrence, as he was affectionately known, would hang up his cleats and ride off into the Texas sunset. Instead, he made a decision that would change everything. On March 12, 2025, Lawrence signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Seattle Seahawks, with $18 million guaranteed. But this wasn't just a simple free agency move. It was a declaration of war against his former team, disguised as a business transaction. Central to understanding Lawrence's frustration was his relationship with the player meant to be his successor, Micah Parsons. Born on May 26, 1999 in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Parsons represented everything that was supposed to be the future of Cowboys defense. A consensus All-American at Penn State, the 12th overall pick in 2021, and the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year that same season, Parsons had accumulated impressive statistics in his 4 years: 52.5 career sacks, 172 solo tackles, and 4 consecutive Pro Bowl selections. But statistics only tell part of the story. Parsons, despite his on-field dominance, had developed a reputation that concerned veterans like Lawrence. His involvement in a 2020 hazing scandal at Penn State, where former teammate Isaiah Humphries filed a lawsuit alleging harassment, though Parsons denied the claims and no criminal charges were filed, had raised questions about his character and leadership style. More troubling for team chemistry was Parsons' approach to public discourse. His December 2022 tweet criticizing the prisoner swap that freed Brittany Griner while leaving Paul Whelan feeling behind sparked significant backlash, forcing him to apologize for tweeting out of emotion. But it was his October 2024 podcast comments that truly revealed the dysfunction within the Cowboys organization. On his podcast, The Edge, Parsons and teammate Trevon Diggs publicly criticized defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer, attributing the team's struggles to missing former coordinator Dan Quinn. This wasn't just locker room grumbling. This was public insubordination that highlighted exactly what Lawrence found toxic about the current Cowboys culture. The irony wasn't lost on Lawrence or observant fans. Here was a player with all the physical tools and accolades, publicly undermining his own coaching staff while the defense ranked among the worst in the league. For a veteran like Lawrence, who had spent over a decade trying to build a winning culture in Dallas, watching the supposed face of the franchise engage in such public criticism must have been the final straw. Lawrence's frustration with Parsons represented a broader generational divide within the Cowboys organization. Lawrence, at 33, embodied old-school professionalism: handle business privately, support your coaches publicly, and let your play do the talking. Parsons, at 26, represented the new NFL: podcast savvy, social media active, and comfortable airing grievances in public forums. This philosophical clash became evident in their social media battle following Lawrence's departure. When Parsons called Lawrence's Super Bowl comments clown and attributed them to rejection and envy, he was essentially proving Lawrence's point about the team's misplaced priorities. On the other hand, Jessica McCarthy, Mike McCarthy's wife, had been in the spotlight for entirely different reasons, speaking to school children about art and offering guidance about handling media attention. Her presence in Cowboys-related articles during the same period as Lawrence's explosive comments created a perfect storm of misinterpretation. What makes this case of mistaken identity so fascinating is how it reveals the modern media landscape's tendency to create connections where none exist. Extensive searches for any footage involving both Lawrence and Jessica McCarthy yielded nothing, yet the rumor mill continued to churn, fueled by the viral nature of Lawrence's actual comments and the coincidental timing of Jessica McCarthy's public appearances. The reality is that Jessica McCarthy has maintained what can only be described as an exemplary public profile. She is dedicated to philanthropy and family, co-founding the McCarthy Family Foundation with her husband and focusing on community service rather than controversy. But the real story, the one that actually went viral, was far more explosive than any manufactured scandal could have been. In that fateful Hawk Blogger interview, Lawrence didn't just leave the Cowboys. He torched the bridge behind him with words that cut deeper than any defensive end's pass rush ever could. The setting was perfect for maximum impact. Here was Lawrence, fresh off signing with Seattle, sitting down for what should have been a routine introductory interview. Instead, he delivered a quote that would echo through the halls of Cowboys headquarters for years to come. The interviewer, Brian Nemhauser of Hawk Blogger, probably had no idea he was about to witness one of the most savage departures in recent NFL history. The viral footage that everyone thought involved DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy's wife turned out to be something far more explosive. A complete breakdown of trust, respect, and professionalism within one of America's most famous sports franchises. Lawrence's interview wasn't just a departure, it was a declaration that the Dallas Cowboys, as currently constituted, were fundamentally broken. As the dust settled from this social media warfare, one thing became crystal clear. DeMarcus Lawrence's final gift to the Dallas Cowboys wasn't his years of service or his impressive statistics. It was holding up a mirror to show them exactly what they had become, and the reflection wasn't pretty. This wasn't just about football or championships or personal grudges. It was about the soul of an organization and whether it still possessed the will to win at the highest level. Based on the evidence provided by this explosive feud, the answer seemed to be a resounding no. The viral footage everyone was talking about didn't involve Mike McCarthy's wife at all. It involved something far more scandalous: the complete collapse of the Dallas Cowboys championship culture, exposed by one of their own former heroes for the entire world to witness. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on the videos playing on your screen to watch similar content.